Hi, welcome. My name is Mark Anderson. Welcome to this Global EdTech Academy session, exploring how we can use Microsoft 365 tools to improve the impact of pupil practice. I'm a really huge advocate for using technology in evidence-informed ways, and there are lots of ways in which we can do that, and they don't have to be particularly difficult either. This session is a mixture of technology use and pedagogical practices and linking those various things together. So I've got some research and articles to talk about and discuss and share with you. And we'll think about how we can apply this knowledge and thinking into the tools that we choose to use inside the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So I'm just working on the basis that you can all see everything okay, and get ready to sort of go full screen. I'll just jump back quickly, everybody, into the chat to make sure everyone's okay, see how things are going in there. I can see we've got a few people in here now, Shenjamb and Jira and Marimi. Welcome everybody, and I hope you enjoy this session. Please do just drop me a hands up in the, thank you. Drop me your hands up if you've got any questions during the session. I will build in some time at the end of the session for you to ask me questions. So if there's something really pressing, then please do get in touch. Other than that, I'll bring things back a little bit at the end. I have got a hands-on activity during the session as well for you to take part in a little quiz. Yeah, we'll get into that in just a few moments. So, as I said, my name is Mark, and I'm really pleased and proud to have partnered with Microsoft and Q to be part of the Global EdTech Academy. It's a fantastic offering. There's over 400 different professional development opportunities over the course of the next few months. Loads and loads of things going on. I think there's about 8 sessions running today. There are 3 different types of sessions that you can attend. There's a session like this, which is a bit like a webinar. There are masterclasses where you can work alongside a trainer or somebody that's such as myself, and you can attend those and experience that with the masterclass. The other type of session is an office hour, okay, and I've got a few of those booked in as well. And an office hour is a chance to just turn up into a Teams meeting and have a chat with somebody such as myself, and just ask questions about particular topics. So I think Matt Miller has got a session later today, and you can drop in during that hour and just sit there and ask him questions to help you around the topics that are important to you. So it's a really fantastic offer there as well. All of the sessions, such as the ones that I'm delivering, as I said, are recorded using the Microsoft recording tool in Teams, saved straight to stream, and then uploaded to the Q YouTube channel. So a fantastic way to access all of this great PD opportunities after the event if you're not able to attend. If you want to find out more about the Global EdTech Academy, really easy to do that. Get yourself over to q.org/Microsoft, and you'll find a whole host of different educators and EdTech experts sharing their wealth of knowledge to support you with your professional development, all organised through Microsoft and Q and completely free for attendance and engagement. So it's a fantastic offer available to all for free right there. I mentioned that things are shared and saved up onto YouTube afterwards. If you want to discover that playlist, it's very easy. Just go to q.org/GetARecording. GetARecording, which is obviously the Global EdTech Academy recordings. So go to that address, you'll find the playlist and all the information you'll want for all the sessions that I've run previously from all the different trainers. And you can see some here, for example, with Tara Linney and a few others that are in there. I can't quite make out Matt Miller's one there session. Loads and loads of people taking part in this project. So it's a real privilege to have been asked to be involved in it myself as well. Really pleased to be involved. My name, as I said, is Mark Anderson, and you can find me on Twitter at ICT Evangelist. And I do have a website, which is ictevangelist.com. To go over there and you'll find all of my various resources and blog posts and articles around teaching, leadership, learning and EdTech, all over there. Plenty of things to sort of dig your teeth into. And other resources are very easily found as well through various other social media. So moving forwards, looking into this session today, we're looking at 365 tools to improve the impact of pupil practice. So how am I going to sort of run this session? Well, we'll start off by looking at the evidence and what the research says. I've got some quotes from different articles and other bits of information related to pupil practice and the impacts that it can have. Then we'll explore some ideas on how to do it. And I'm a huge advocate of using tools in simple ways that can have a bigger impact than some of the whiz-bang stuff that we can do, because actually it's these things which are probably more important. And engagement is a great thing, but often as a byproduct of the great stuff that we're doing. So these aren't necessarily ideas for engagement, these are ideas for teaching and learning, which are informed by evidence bases. So there's ideas on how to do these different things, and then some hands-on time to try and explore some of the things that we've shared. And depending on time, that will impact on how much time we get to do the hands-on bit together. So thank you for coming along to the session today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I hope you get a lot from what I'm going to share with you over the course of the day. There's a great organisation here in the UK called the Education Endowment Foundation. And what they do as part of their work is to work with hundreds and hundreds of schools on a wide variety of different research projects to try and find out what works in education. It's not just about technology. They look at all sorts of things, strategies in English and maths and numeracy and literacy, and using teaching assistants, and I think best practices in a science department, all these different things, so many different projects that the Education Endowment Foundation have engaged upon over the years. Some projects obviously then linked to how we best use EdTech. And so back in 2019, March 2019, they did launch a digital guidance report based on the things that they found to be most impactful. As part of the Education Endowment Foundation's website, they have got the Teaching and Learning Toolkit. And in the Teaching and Learning Toolkit, you will find lots of information about the things that will have the most impact, strategies and activities that could be the most impactful. The two most impactful, which is based upon the strength of evidence and the impact of additional months students will get from their learning based on strong use of these different strategies, can be seen here. Good feedback, metacognition and self-regulation of students. These things here are very high impact for a very low cost. Particularly the second one, extensive evidence there that these two things massively work. And so these are just serving as some examples of how they used their research to then lead forward into their guidance reports so that we can use this information to inform us and what we're going to do with our uses of technology. So when they released their guidance report, they broke it down to 4 different sections, and I've already delivered one session on one of the sections, which is section 2. I'll just jump forward a second. Second one here, which looked at how we could use Microsoft tools to improve the quality of explanations and modelling. The first recommendation they give, just jumping back here a second, is a bit of a, it seems like common sense to me, but so many schools I work with don't do and go through these different processes. They think, well, we've got to have some technology, so they get some technology, but they haven't actually considered how they're going to use it to improve teaching and learning before they actually introduce it. As the expansion says, technology can sometimes be a solution in search of a problem unless it's introduced in response to an identified need. It's really important to consider how you're going to use it, how it's going to work, what infrastructure you might need underneath, all that sort of stuff. And I've done another session already, which should be available on the Getter playlist, which explores digital strategy and how to make things work within your organisation at scale. But today, we're going to focus on the third option, the third part to their guidance report, which states that technology can offer ways to improve the impact of pupil practice. Now, the 4th section here just says about how technology can play a role in improving assessment and feedback. And actually, when you think about 2, 3, and 4 here, they are quite closely linked in terms of the things that they can use and do and so forth and so on. One of the aspects of improving pupil practice is the opportunity that we get to do some things around spaced practice and retrieval practice. We'll explore those things more in sort of subsequent sections in this presentation and session today. But these other two sections we're seeing, which is namely the explanations and modelling and in the improving feedback and assessment, some of the things I'm sharing with you today can actually be applicable in these other areas as well. And where they are, I'll say, yes, this is actually applicable for assessment as well, for example, or for giving feedback, or to help it inform your next steps in how you're going to support your learning moving from A to B, C to D, or F to Z even. So that's the report we're going to be focused on mostly, but other research and other evidence-informed approaches, they're going to be sort of brought in a bit, and I've mentioned those a little bit already as well. And I always say, when it comes to using technology for teaching and learning, it isn't so much what you do, it's the way that you do it that's important. And starting from a pedagogy sort of based approach, which has got links to evidence-informed teaching and learning practices, is a great way to start. Michael Fullan talks about having a pedagogy-first approach, and there's a quote from him where he talks about pedagogy being the, when it comes to technology use, pedagogy being the driver and technology being the accelerator. And so if we start with these evidence-informed approaches to using technology, it's going to really help keep us honest, as it were, in terms of what we're trying to achieve with our use of technology. We're not using it for gimmicky purposes. We're not using it to give wow factor. We're not trying to use it to engage our learners. We're using it in ways to help our job as teachers, so helping us with our teaching and their learning. So that's what we're trying to focus on and achieve with all of this. One of the quotes in the guidance report talks about ensuring that pupils have repeated and varied opportunities to apply and use new skills and knowledge, increasing success. And that comes from Rosenshine's Principles of Instruction. Now, if you're a UK-based educator, you'll know how very, very popular these principles of instruction are here, over here in the UK. Tom Sherrington has written a fantastic little guide to expand that and give some real-life examples about how those things work. And it's increasingly popular, and the impacts of Rosenshine's work is increasing worldwide. Absolutely huge, and a fantastic evidence-based approach to instruction and supplying opportunities for teaching and learning. So with that in mind, they also go on to say that practice can help by increasing the fluency with which pupils can use skills they have learned, or help pupils remember key concepts and ideas. So this idea of repetitively repeating and practicing things, and it helps people remember key concepts and ideas. And here's a personal example. You know, as a child, I used to play the piano. I was not bad at the piano, and I succeeded with a whole variety of different levels of success in exams, playing the piano and all these sort of things. Jump forwards quite a few years following when I was at school and I was learning to play the piano. Now you put me in front of a piano, I'm not bad. I can still play a tune, I can play Happy Birthday and things like that, but I'm nowhere near as good a musician, pianist, as I was back when I was younger. And the reason is I just haven't kept up my practice. I can still play the piano, same as riding a bike. You can probably still ride a bike, but you probably won't be as confident on those two wheels as you once were as a child when you were learning and had that oodles of confidence in riding the bike. And so we need to make sure that we keep up our practice so that things are still at the forefront of our memories and our minds. So practice is really, really important. Evidence suggests that teachers can use technology to increase the benefits of practice to improve fluency or retention of information, and that this is likely to have a positive impact on learning. And so when you dig into the report, you'll see that there's a whole variety of different case studies and research projects they've undertaken around all sorts of areas, flipped learning, so forth and so on. And the impact and the evidence base that they've sort of generated from that research that can support and link through to all those different things. So evidence suggests technology can increase the benefits of practice to improve fluency or retention. And obviously that would then obviously have a positive impact on learning. So an additional way to improve the quality of practice is to consider ways in which technology can be used to support retrieval or spaced practice or low stakes testing. So these things can actually all be linked together. Now, and we haven't got time during the session today to go into each of these in much depth. But there are ways in which we can use technology to actually enable and support all of these different things. So retrieval practice, for example, I will dig into that in a bit more depth in a moment, but it requires you to not just test your learners at one point, but revisit those things over time to smooth out and flatten what's called the forgetting curve. Spaced practice, I'll dig into that in a bit more depth in just a moment, and hopefully low stakes testing is something which will be well within your frame of reference, but it's using quizzing tools, and we'll explore some of those things in just a moment as well. So spaced practice, what is it? Well, we're more likely to remember something if we spread practice over time than something we study in one sitting. So let's say, for example, we are studying how to add complex fractions together. Okay, we've learned how to do it, we've done some work in the class. Okay, but spending time when we're sort of revisiting those things and all of that, if we were to break up that work over time, okay, even if the total amount of time being spent would be the same overall on that particular topic, it actually helps with the embedding of that knowledge within our brains. So we're more likely to remember something if we spread practice over time than something we study in one sitting, even if the total time spent on a topic is the same. And that testing one's ability to retrieve information, this is where the retrieval practice comes in, through either self or teacher-led testing, can be an effective way to improve recall. And there's some impressive names in the research paper here, Dunlowski, we got Dan Willingham, so forth and so on. So please do dig into these things in more depth post this session should you want to. And all the links through to it or any different reports I'm sharing are all inside that Education Endowment Foundation improving digital usage report that came out March 19 from their website. I can show you where to find that later on during the session. So what does this look like? How can we do these things? What tools can we use? How can we simplify it using Microsoft 365? Well, there are lots and lots of ways in which we can do these sorts of things. And I want to sort of dig down before we jump into the tools themselves into this. This is Ebbinghouse's forgetting curve. And I think it's a really powerful thing to actually explore. Let's jump into here a second and grab myself my laser pointer. I want to sort of highlight a few things. So if I teach you what I'm teaching you and sharing with you today, if we don't cover any of these things again for 60 days, we're likely to remember about roughly 5% of all of the things that we have covered over the course of the day. If you were, however, if this was really important to you and you wanted to share this with your colleagues, if you wanted to run a similar session with your colleagues, going back and revisiting that information yourself or supported by me, let's say, in a few days, so about 3 days, just by doing that in 60 days, you are more likely to remember. It was a huge jump at 50%. You've gone from about 5% down here, right up to 50% just here. And that you'll remember just from having a simple reminder a few days later. Have another reminder in 10 days' time up here, and look what happens to the curve then. We're looking at 80% of what you were taught being retained. Now, for me, when I learned this, and this, I was teaching for 20 years or so, just over 20 years. Now, this didn't actually come into my sort of frame of reference, although it's quite an old thing. I didn't learn about this until quite later on in my teaching career. It was absolutely mind-blowing. You know, as educators, we often get our curricula, we work through it in a linear fashion, often based on the syllabuses or syllabi that we receive from district or from exam boards and so forth and so on. And we work through it, we test each lesson, students do okay, we get to the end of the course and boom, we're done. And we're sometimes surprised if we sit an end of unit test and students don't remember things that they once remembered. Well, this really does make it really very clear. And if we take on board these ideas of spacing practice as well, so not trying to cover everything in one go together, but chunking it, okay, and this can massively transform how we think about how we deliver, how we test, these sorts of things. So it's really, really key and really sort of groundbreaking thinking, which can actually have a big impact on how we do lots and lots of things in education. And so this is Ebbinghouse's forgetting curve, and what we're trying to do when we're thinking about our low stakes quizzing and spacing our practice out is to give the opportunity for our learners to revisit and have opportunities to remember and then test again using the variety of tools that are out there. And there are loads and loads of ways in which we can do that. Low stakes quizzing, as it says, a simple example of using technology to increase the frequency of pupil practice might be a quiz application on a mobile phone or a tablet that tests pupils on vocabulary in geography or dates in history to support pupils in remembering key information. That's taken from the Education Endowment Foundation report again. That's not to say that this is only applicable for geography and history. For example, there's strong evidence, particularly in mathematics, that this works really, really well. And it's actually applicable in all subject areas because learning is learning regardless of the areas in which we are trying to focus on within inside our teaching and learning in our classrooms. So, two tools that I use an awful lot are Quizlet and Quizzes. I'm going to talk about the Microsoft specific tools in a few minutes. But the reason why I'm sharing these with you is because these tools are actually easily embedded. Sometimes one of the issues with using tools and using EdTech is the time it takes the students to get from one place to another, to get them logged in, to get them using the right website address or whatever it is. Teams is awesome for so many different things. People who sort of think that Teams is just for chat. I mean, look at what we're doing today. I'm delivering a session with you so that you're able to learn about all these different things. And we're doing it all within Teams. Teams is amazing. And so yeah, you can easily add these things into Teams. Now, some of these tools like Quizlet have actually got an option where you can just go onto the plus button just here, and you can easily just add in Quizlet as an app directly within Microsoft Teams. Some tools though, such as Quizzes, and I use Quizzes a lot. It's a really powerful tool, which I'll cover more in a few more moments. But Quizzes doesn't have an embed option within inside Microsoft Teams. So have I got Quizzes in there? When you tap on the plus button just here to bring it into your channel, there's an option there that says website. And so when we do a quiz, the website we'll go to for doing quizzes and quizzes is join.quizzes.com. Now it's easy for us to remember that. Very, very simple. But when you're dealing with learners who've got a lot to remember all the time, actually having it a quick, easily referenced place for them to go to get into those things up here is super, super helpful for them. It's helpful for you too, and it speeds up the processes and no time is wasted. So it's a really simple thing to do and mega, mega powerful. So those are the tools that I've got to share with you there. Why I'm talking about quizzes? Well, it is really easy to set up. It shares really easily into Microsoft Teams, as you've just seen. It will mark quizzes for you. You can set them as assignments. You can feed the results straight into your student work page. There's loads of links there into retrieval practice. So what the features within the tool make it really easy to organize your quizzes that you make so that you can incorporate questions from previous lessons. If you think back to that forgetting curve just a moment ago, if I've taught you something today, I want to test you on it today, but I also want to test you on things and revisit some topics within the quizzing that we did a few weeks ago to help flatten out that forgetting curve, if you remember the forgetting curve. And so quizzes makes it really simple to do that as well. And it's really, really easy to make your low stakes quizzes within the tool. There's a variety of question types available, so you can have multiple choice, checkbox, fill the blank. You can do polls as well, although I've got a slightly better option for polls directly within Teams to share with you in just a moment. And you can have open-ended questions as well. Now, all those different question types are marked for you with the exception of the open-ended questions. Open-ended questions you have to mark yourself, but the rest of these can all be marked for you, which is also fantastic for reducing teacher sort of time and effort and all of that. There's a bunch of features in there as well. It can play memes after each question, and I'll show you the meme stuff in just a moment. Try and ask the students to have the music stuff turned off, sound effects off, and if they need it for accessibility purposes, it does have a read aloud function directly built into the page as well, which is obviously really helpful when it comes to accessibility. Here's an example of the memes. You can make your own after each question. Students can receive a little image and you can make your own. As you can see here in mine for my particular quizzing. So if you get the question right, you get a "you are awesome." If you get it wrong, you get a "better luck next time." And you can create these own personalized meme sets so that children will receive that directly after, which you can choose to have on or off. If you want to as well, to give students a chance to sort of redeem themselves, not that there's anything wrong with getting a question wrong, we should embrace failure if it helps us with our learning, but you do get a chance to, and you can choose when you're running these things with your learners, you can choose to have this feature turned on or off, but you can give your students an opportunity to revisit and complete a question again that they got wrong within their quiz. Please forgive me a second. I just need to blow my nose a second. Not the best thing to do in the middle of a live session. Touch of hay fever kicking in over here for me, but the redemption feature is a nice little thing should you want to use that with your learners. But all these different features, the best feature of all for me is the one that's called the teleport feature. The teleport feature is absolutely amazing, I think. And so what I'm going to do right now is actually show you what that is and how it looks. Whilst I'm just flipping out of the presentation for a second though, I'm just going to jump, as it were, if I can come out of there for a second, jump back into Teams for a moment and just see if anybody's got any questions or anything they would like to ask me at this stage. We've got Hisyam just come up for a second. Was that a question? No, he's just saying hello. Any questions from anybody that I've seen what is the playlist on YouTube for the recordings, please? I think someone's already sorted that out for you, but I'll pop that into the chat very quickly. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, Mr. Mark Anderson. I come from Indonesia. How are you? How do you do?
I'm very good, thank you, Hisyam. Did you have a question for me?
Okay. I want to ask about quizzes. Yeah, how to embed our quizzes to our team? How?
Yeah, so it's super simple. And if I go into my Teams here a second, I've got one that you can hopefully see. Yeah, let me just move out of this particular team for a second and go into this example team. It's a really easy thing to drop the quizzes stuff into here. On the plus symbol here, you'll see all the various options for putting tabs in. But one of those one of the options there is to just have a website. And so simply go to website, and then when you follow it through, all you've got to do,
Sorry to disturb you, but what we can see is your PPT right now.
Right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll just stop the screen sharing as I put the thing specifically to that. Let me share my screen again and go to everything. There we go. So hopefully you can now see my teams. So I go to my teams. Hi again, waving to yourself. So I'm in this example class team. And all I've got to do, you can see I've got on here 2 more. I've got Quizlet and quizzes there already. To put the quizzes one in, you have to do it as a website. So you go to the plus symbol just here and choose the website option. And from within there, you give it a name. So I called it quizzes, and I just pasted the URL in. and I hit save, and it added it to the top. The Quizlet one, and Quizlet is a fantastic tool to use for this, is actually an app. Sorry, Quizlet is an app directly within inside the options within Teams. So that was as simple as going to Quizlet. And what you do with Quizlet once you've actually got it chosen, if you're a Quizlet user, you'll know that it's based on a variety of question sets. So all you'd have to do with this one is go to Quizlet and get your question set URL, paste it in here, and then it adds it in. So I'm not going to have to do that, but what I can do is show you the one that I've done previously. So I go to Quizlet just here. You can now see my study set, how many colours are there in the rainbow. And these are just some sample ones. So these are just questions and question sets that we can actually go through and set these study sets for our learners to do. And from here, they can learn them, they can check the spelling, they can have to run a little test on them, they can play a gravity game or a matching game, so forth and so on. So that's how you add them directly into your Teams instance. I do want to spend a moment sort of sharing with you, though, about another tool within inside Teams, which is really, really useful, called Polly or Polly for doing polls. And once it's installed, and it's again a super easy thing to do, you just go to the plus button up here and choose Polly, just as I did with the others. And you can kick in a Polly instance by using the Polly option that comes down here once it's installed. But the thing that I love about Polly is that I can just simply type @Polly, like so, and I can put in what for, just put a space in there, what for lunch, question mark, sandwich, comma, bento, let's say. I press enter, and what Polly will do in the background, it will recognise that I've done that, and it will now add, as you can see it's coming through now, it'll put a poll directly into my post stream right there for my learners to respond to. So if we're learning sometimes goes off the lesson plan, and we want to sort of see how learners have responded to something we've talked about, using this is so quick and easy. You just type the @Polly, type the question, put the options, and it makes the poll for you, and you can see all the results really clearly and easily directly within here as well. Super easy to set up and really, really useful. And just can hear someone got their microphone on. Is that somebody else ask a question? Yeah.
How about the score of quizzes? That is the insert to the grades in the teams, maybe.
Yeah.
In the grade team, in the this one grade, include automatically.
Yeah. Well, if you let me run through the rest of the session. Hopefully, we'll have time for me to show you that. If not, I've got a guide on how to do that within my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ICT Evangelist. Okay, so yeah, happy to show you how that happens if we've still got time. Okay, just jumping back into the chat for a second. How does Polly compare? I can't see the whole thing. It goes through now. Using forms polling options, is one better than the other? No, Ian. It isn't. One's better than the other. I love the fact that it's just really quickly for doing that option like we did there. But again, forms is fantastic, and it's built in directly with inside here as well. I like it for the expediency, but you know, like I said earlier on in the presentation, it isn't so much what you do, it's the way that you do it. And so if you're very comfortable using forms already, then stick with forms. I'm not here to say one's better than the other, absolutely not. What I think is important is that we are aware of what is on offer so that we can apply these things in the right time and the right place. That's one of the sort of key tenets of the TPAC model from Kohler and Mishra, a technological pedagogical content knowledge model. It's not about using every technology every single lesson all of the time. It's about having a raft of skills, a broad range of skills and tools available to you as part of your teaching and learning toolkit that you can apply when you think is right to do it yourself. And so if you're, like I say, more than happy, thank you for your comment as well, Ian. If you're very happy doing the polling in forms, then stick with forms, you know. It's horses for courses. So hopefully you found that a little bit there interesting anyway, and looking how you can drop things into teams and add them in and embed them in and so forth and so on. I'm just going to ping back into my presentation now because I wanted to have a little show to you of using quizzes. And let's have a little time check and see how we're getting on. We're not doing too bad. So what I'd like to do, I'd like to actually go at running a little quiz with you and seeing how you get on. Okay, so setting a quiz is super easy. I want to show you how you make a quiz first, though, actually, because it's that feature for me which is absolutely killer. It's absolutely brilliant and so easy to make a quiz. So if I go to create a new quiz here at the top, and I'll give it a name, and I'll call it the Getter Quiz, if I can spell quiz correctly, and I'm going to save it to my professional development folder. And I choose next, and rather than making my questions myself, this is what you saw before in the presentation, this is where you can put your different options in, but I want to show you the teleport feature because it is for me the best feature. So to do that, we simply go to the word teleport, and we need to look for our quiz questions. So let's say we're teaching a topic on Romeo and Juliet. So I'll just type in Romeo and Juliet, I'll hit the search button, and then we get a whole bunch of questions. Now, this is why I love quizzes, because I can go into this first quiz here by Cockney K, and I can see all the questions here. Now, what's great about this is I can, on a granular level, on a question by question level, I can drop in whichever one of these questions on this particular quiz that I like. So let's say I like the first question, so I'll add it, but I don't like the second question, so I won't, but I do like the third question, so I'll add it. And I'll keep scrolling through and I'll find some more, and I like this one, and I like this one, and there we go. And I don't like any of the questions in that quiz, that's fine. Let's just check out this quiz here. That quiz then loads the questions up over here, and again I can quickly, easily add in the questions that I want and then remove and not have the questions that I don't want. And I can keep doing that with all of these different quizzes that are available to me here. And very quickly, what we can do is we can find, once we finish putting our questions in, we can see the teleport feature has gone through and made me a really brilliant quiz already. Now, I mentioned saying that quizzes was really good for supporting retrieval practice. Now, when I made this quiz, you saw that I saved it into the professional development folder. Now, you can make different folders for your different subjects. When you're making your quizzes, it's a good idea to put something in like, you know, lesson quiz, get a quiz lesson 1, or whatever your subject is, or Mr. Anderson lesson 1, or whatever it is related to that particular topic and class that you've got. Give it a name and make it recognizable from when you taught that particular topic. What you can do then is when you're doing your teleporting, okay, so I'm going to now not include public quizzes, so it's only going to choose my quizzes, and I'm just going to search for economics, because I've got a good example of how we can do this. So here we'll see that I've got a quiz for economics week 1, week 2, and week 3. Week 3 is the week I'm on, let's say, for example. Okay, so I want to create a quiz with all of these questions in, because it is week 3. But to support retrieval practice, what I want to do is include some questions from the previous weeks to help flatten that curve out. So because I've named them week 1, week 2, week 3, and you would obviously carry on with that cycle going through your various quizzes each week, I'm going to go to week 2, and I want to bring through some questions from week 2 so I can test those particular things to help flatten that curve. I can then bring through a few more from week 1. I can add it again, add in, so forth and so on. Using this method of making quizzes for your learners is not only really simple, but it is hugely time saving, and it's informed by the ideas around the Ebbinghouse's forgetting curve. So I'm not going to run this particular quiz with you though, because that would be unfair. I don't know if we've got any Romeo and Juliet and economics experts in the session today, but I will just run a quiz to show you how you actually run these things. And there's a variety of ways that you can do this with linking to Microsoft and Teams. Okay, but just to get us in, to get us started on this, so you can have a little play with yourself. If you get your phones out or open up a new tab, I'd like you to go to the address. I'm just going to type it into the chat for us here. So join.quiziz.com. Open-ended. How do you make a score for the open-ended question? You don't score the open-ended question. You mark that yourself as you would collecting it in normally. How about if our student find my quizzes on the internet? Can you make it private for all? Yeah, you could. You don't have, when you make a quiz, you do not have to make it as part of that process. You can make it just private. So people, you can still run the quiz, but learners can't, or anybody else can't find your questions and reuse them themselves. So if you could go to that URL for me, and what I'll do is I will just start up a quiz. So let's go to my quizzes. And I'll choose, I can find my super quiz, there we go. Now this is just for fun, okay, and we can play the game live, we can assign it as a homework, we can do it as a practice. I'm going to go to play live as the option. And there's three ways in which we can do this. We can do them as a team, so we can do a team approach if you want to, where students answer at their own pace, but they're grouped by a team. Classic, which is one-to-one, which is what we're going to do. Or we can do it as a test, which is a no-frills version, which gives you more opportunity to do a more sort of serious assessment, which requires students to have a login as well. Now, you can assign things to classes. Now this bit here is not linked to Teams. This is not how we do the Teams bits. This is for another product, but you can add it them to classes. You can choose how many times a student can take the quiz. I'll just go for once. And show answers in game, I'll have that turned on so you can see what the answers look like. Show answers post game, I'll turn that on as well. You can set a timer for the questions. I'll have that on for you. Normally with my classes, I want them to have a chance to think about these things, so I won't have that turned on. I will shuffle the questions and I will shuffle the answer options. So there we go. That's the stuff that I want for my quiz. Just change it to classic a second, because I knew there were some questions, some options missing. So I don't want the leaderboard. And I do want the redemption question, and I do want my meme sets on. It's interesting then, because so there were less options because it was the serious, testy, no frills version, and this is where we get to have more options within here. It comes with some meme sets as well if you don't want to make your own. You make your own meme sets over here on the left-hand side where it says memes, and it talks you through that process. So there's the quiz setup. You're hopefully at join.quiziz.com already, and when you get there, go to join a quiz, and the code you want to type in today for this particular quiz is 487715. So have a little go at that. I can see that some of you are in there already. Well done. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Shireen. I can send these things full screen, but I won't do. And because it's just for fun, I'm just going to hit the start button now. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I just want you to get the experience of seeing what it's like as a student, as well as seeing it as you can, like how I've been demonstrating it as a teacher. So we go to start, and we'll get a countdown like so. Now that music is a bit annoying, so what I will do is I will go to the speaker at the top here and turn that off. And I've got a leaderboard here. I can see how you're getting on with your questions, and you're answering those questions, and you're seeing my smiley face or unhappy face, depending on whether you get the questions wrong. So it's a really slick, quick, easy tool to set up. And I'm going to end the game in about 5 seconds, just so we can see what it looks like afterwards. 4, 3, 2, and I know you want the kudos of winning. I know you do, but it's just for fun. 3, 2, 1, and I'll just end it there. So sorry for doing that to you. But hopefully you got an experience there of answering some questions and see what it's like. And what it does for me straight away is give you some great analytics here as well, and all these things here. Now, I know I had that question before about how we link this through and send the results through into Teams. I will try and jump into that in just a few moments, but I do want to spend some time, because Ian was asking the question quite rightly as well, what else is there, and how would Poly compare to Microsoft Forms? Now, Forms are huge, okay? Just putting to one side the fact that it really helpfully links through to all the things that we're talking about here with people practice and all of that. It's got so many uses as well. It is one of my favorite tools within the Microsoft ecosystem. It is absolutely brilliant. And so what can it do? Well, it will auto mark your multiple choice questions for a start. It can also auto mark your short answer questions. It can also support branching to stretch students. So based upon, if you're not aware of what branching is, based upon a specific response to an answer to a question, it can then move people completing a quiz or a survey to a different destination. So an example of that might be, are you male or female? It might be you have some questions for males and some questions for females. And so based upon a response that's given, either male or female, based upon the response that somebody completing the survey or the quiz puts in, it will then branch them into a different route or a different direction. That can be used in so many different ways as well. I've even seen that as an option being used as a creative writing prompt. So if students are creating an adventure story, and you're in a clearing and you can go north or you can go east, which do you choose? And so at that point it branches into 2 different stories and 2 different ways of which a story can go based upon the options and choices. And that again is fantastic for literacy, it's fantastic for creativity. It's also really good thinking about computing concepts as well, around flowcharts and loops and so forth and so on. So there are so many ways in which we can apply and use Microsoft Forms to help us with our teaching and our learning, or to our teaching and their learning. But there's so many great things you can do with it just on a quizzing basis as well. So you can analyze those results and put them straight into Excel. It embeds directly into OneNote as well. That for me is an awesome feature as well. That fact you can just embed a Microsoft form directly, straight away, no fuss, no messing, straight into OneNote is absolutely spectacular. And you can also use it as well. If I just bring this back up again so you can see it more clearly, you can actually have questions which involve entering an answer and solving equations like this for mathematics. It's just such a great tool to use. And so like Ian said before, what are the benefits of Poly over Forms? If Forms is what you're used to and what you love and what you're great with, then please do stick with it. What I'm trying to do here today is offer up alternatives and give you a broad opportunity to think about and explore some of the tools that are available. The reason why I spent time talking about quizzes, one of the other options that you can embed into Teams is Kahoot. Now, Kahoot is a great tool, but I wanted to give something which is slightly different, which I think is slightly easier for making these tools. That teleport feature for me, in terms of saving teacher time, is absolutely fantastic. So let me show you how you just jump back into Edge a second. Here's Microsoft Forms. We haven't got time to go through completing a form and what have you today, but I've just got an example form here. And what I want to try and do for a second is I want to just try and put this into OneNote to show you how easy it is to actually do these things and drop them into OneNote, because it is absolutely fantastic. Now, as you'll probably know with forms already, there are some great ways easily set up to help you share what is in your form. So you can get a URL like this, and we're going to copy that now. You can also get a QR code, so you can save that with the snipping tool, or you could copy it and you could download it as an image and drop it into a presentation or put it into a poster or whatever it is you want to do with your sharing of it. You could also get an embed link, so you could put that onto a web page or embed it into a Sway presentation, or you can email it off like so. But I'm just going to close that quickly. So the option I'm going to go for, though, is this copy words. I've copied the link already. So what do I have to do? Well, it is super easy. So if I just jump into our Teams here again for a second, and I'm going to go to Teams over here, and I'm going to go to my class notebook. I've got in my little example class, and all I've got to do to save this and share this with my class, I mean, it's just mind-bogglingly so simple to do. If I think back to years ago when I was trying to do these sort of things with my classes, trying to share notes and share things, and I'd waste 10 minutes of a lesson with waiting for students to actually get into a particular resource. It used to take such a very long time. It's yes, how great tools are now for us to use. So I'm going to put in do this is, and I simply click into the workspace here. I do paste like so, and then as if by magic, there you go. That for me, I feel like I should be dropping a microphone about now. It's just such a simple way to have all of these things made and set up. It's absolutely fantastic. So Microsoft Forms is a huge sort of win, a huge fantastic tool for supporting all these different things. I want to just start to wrap up a little bit now, just by revisiting this particular quote here. Practice can help by increasing the fluency with which pupils can use skills they have learned, or help pupils remember key concepts and ideas. There are loads of ways in which we can use technology to facilitate these sorts of things happening. The key for me is, what can we do based on what we know from Ebbinghouse's forgetting curve? What can we do? How can we use the tools available to us to help us do all these different things? How might this impact on the curriculum? How might this impact on when we deliver various topics? And how is it going to impact on the quizzes and the quizzing tools that we use, and how we use them, and the questions that we're going to ask? So whatever we can do to smooth this, flatten out this curve, the better. And I was a bit skeptical when I first heard about this, but honestly, the difference in recall in your students will be noticeable by some considerable margin. So please do consider including these sorts of approaches into the work that you're doing. I'm sure all of you are already doing things with low stakes quizzing. I'm sure lots of the things I'm sharing with you are actually, things you may well be aware of already. But applying this slightly different thinking to how you develop or approach the quizzing and the questions you ask, so that you can ask the questions from previous lessons and 3 lessons ago and a month ago and 6 months ago, so forth and so on. That shift in your thinking about when you're developing your low stakes quizzing, I think even if that's your simple takeaway from the session, that will be superbly helpful. I'm not going to get into all of the questions that you'll have for me today, because I can tell you that the session's due to finish in just over 3 minutes. But I'll just remind you, if you want to follow up afterwards, please do tweet me. I love to take questions from Twitter, and I will get back to you on the Teams question on Twitter afterwards, because I'll need to set up a time I can show you that, or directly to where you can find it on my YouTube channel. But please do follow me on Twitter at ICT Evangelist. If you want to contact me directly, if you're not a Twitter person, my website is ictevangelist.com, and there's a contact page /contact where you can drop me a line there if you want to at the end. I will jump in for questions, but whilst I'm in here now, I just want to say very quickly, thank you so much for coming to this session, and I hope you found the things I've shared with you useful. And I'm jumping to Teams now, and just see if there's any more questions. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you very much for your kind comments. Following you already, me too. Yeah, I will. I don't share my presentation slides, sorry, Hisham, but obviously you'll have the recording for this session. Ian, you've got to go teaching his A-level computer science class at 9. Good luck with that, Ian. And thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Noor. Great stuff. Okay, Hisham, if you'd like to drop me a line and I'll be able to sort out showing you how to do that stuff within Teams, not a problem, okay?
Okay, pardon me, Mr. Mark. That is
Brilliant
the
stuff.
first time I joined to Microsoft Team for international. I only joined Microsoft Team in Indonesia. I came from Indonesia.
That's brilliant. It truly is a global thing we're experiencing at the moment, and anything that say Q and Microsoft are really keen to help educators across the world and supporting them with some professional development. So fantastic to have you along and have a real global flavour to the session today. Thank you to everyone else who's come along to the session, and very much appreciate it. I'm going to hit the end recording session now, and just say thank you very much to everyone for coming along. Thank you very much.
Thank